Hello, everybody, and welcome to our wonderful chat that we're going to have this afternoon. I am Allie from Heart and Soul Connected, as most of you know. Hi, Flowing. Hi, Sandra and Sharon. Today, we are very lucky. We have Kelly from dzncats for me, and she's going to be our hostess. And we also have wonderful Adrian from Red Lentil Healing. And we have SonjaRayne Lee, who has two channels actually that she works with. But we're going to be putting up their channel information so that you can have that later on. But thank you. And I'm going to turn this over to Kelly at this point.
Wow, that was fast.
That was pretty fast. Does everybody know? This was Kelly's idea, this whole thing. And she asked me to host it here. So Kelly gets the credit for all of this wonderful group of people to be here and talk about the topic.
You're so kind, Allie. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Adrian and Sonia and Allie, obviously, for being a part of this. I truly appreciate it. And just really quickly, I wanted to say, so when I was in the chats, when I first discovered this community and I was trying to figure out myself and how to heal myself, and sort of, approaching on my spiritual journey, there was words being used by different readers and different channel hosts, like awakening and grounding, etc. And I found that people were like, yep, okay, sure, yep, we don't, but I don't necessarily know what they meant. How do I apply that? What do I do with that information? And so since I've started my channel, I have been really thinking about, like, how do I put that information out there? Because I can't be the only one that doesn't understand fully what those words mean. There must be other people. And so I would encourage you in the chat, if there's something that you are unsure of or something that you would like us to talk about, throw it up there in the chat and we'll get Allie to highlight it. Because I may be the host, but I'm not driving the ship, friend. So Allie will have to highlight it for us.
All right, I got you back.
We'll discuss it, right? And we're going to have a full-on, well, not really a round table. It's more like a square table, a conversation between the four of us. But really, it's these three fine, wonderful ladies. And by the way, ladies, one day late, but happy International Women's Day.
Yes, same to all of you.
Yes, to all you wonderful women. We need more than one day anyway, Kelly.
Absolutely.
My mother used to say, Allie, that we would say, like, Happy Mother's Day, and she would say, like, excuse me, every day is Mother's Day. And I was like, right, you're right. You are absolutely right. So
I didn't fully appreciate that until I became a mother.
Until you were a mom.
Yes.
My mother used to say every day is Children's Day. That's what she used to say. And I want to have my celebration on Mother's Day. So
yeah. I love that. All right. So the first word that we're going to talk about is awakening. We're going right for the top of the list.
Right for the top of the list. All right. Awesome.
So jump in wherever.
Awakening it's a tricky one because there's a lot of different definitions, a lot of different connotations. And awakening also aligns to certain, not even just spiritual, but religious practices as well. You can talk about the Buddhist awakening. You can talk about there's even an awakening. It's mentioned in the Bible, the little bit of the Bible that I do know, that word is used. So that is very interesting because I feel like that's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but also at the same time can have a very specific meaning, but also the same meaning, but a very different meaning. Do you ladies feel the same? Is it because that's something I noticed that, especially with the age now of social media where everybody documents every part of their life, the word awakening gets thrown around so much that you're just
very loosely. Yes,
it really
does. I mean, for me, I see awakening as kind of the soul is forever evolving and allowing, but it's you actually making that effort to allow that to happen. Now, some people may have like little mini awakenings that they are not necessarily aware of because they're not being mindful of it. But there's those that are actually putting in the work and trying to, whether it's spiritual or religious, they're allowing themselves to be open to something bigger than themselves. And because of that, when they're aligned with that, then they have these moments of where it's they're evolving and different things that are happening. So, and there's different ways of what that may feel like or look like, and everyone's different, so it's going to be different for each individual.
Right. I think the best part of awakening is deja vu. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I mean, this is why this is beautiful, because when I would hear awakening, I always felt like in my mind, it meant like sort of like an aha moment, you know, like my little.
That's what I was just going to say was aha. Yeah. Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Excellent. That's awesome that we got that thing going. It is an aha moment for us. The other day I was interviewing Ganga, and she said she had her awakening when her Kundalini was open, which is from the chakras, and she was in a meditative state, and she actually stayed awakened in a lot of cases. And there, like Adrian and Sonja say, there are different kinds of awakenings that we go through. There's even a book called The Awakening that was written in 1899 by Kate Chopin. And it was her awakening to the fact that she did not like being married. So she, in essence, had an aha moment around that. But spiritually, yes, I agree with you, ladies. There are just different ways of being. And so we might be awakened in one aspect, but we might be ready to birth in another one, but haven't become fully awakened yet.
Yeah. Very true.
And so can we agree that an awakening is something that we're not necessarily aware of? Would we feel it though?
Not necessarily.
No, I think that's the whole point of awakening. It is that moment where the light bulb clicks. If you
light bulb comes on. Yeah. The aha moment.
It is literally in the Buddhist sense where you are. You have become. You literally wake up. It is called you have woken up. You have surrendered. You become one. You are now realizing that you are just stardust and meat suit, and there's a bigger consciousness. So I love it. That there is it's that light bulb. It is that the light's been turned on moment. You do feel it. It's because that's why it's such a buzzword.
Right. And I guess what I was using awakening in that sense that it is that aha moment. It is that moment of where you like realize. And when I was meaning by people that may not necessarily realize that is maybe awakening is not the word for them, you know, because sometimes people do have things and they're not being mindful and really paying attention. And they're just like, wow, that was like really cool that happened, but not really necessarily knowing that it was awakening. So maybe awakening is not really the key word for that kind of moment.
Yeah, I agree. That's right on. That's dead on.
Yeah.
So this word wasn't on the list, and I just wrote it on the list because I do believe it was one of your additions, Allie. So let's talk about mindfulness. What is mindfulness? What does it mean? How do we do it? How do we get there?
Okay.
So, well, I'm a mindset coach. So this is what I work in with people. And mindfulness is really paying attention to what words you're saying, how you're feeling, how you go through life, because what we say and do is going to have an impact on us and on our environment. And really the only thing that we can be in control of is ourselves. So we can't be in control of all these other elements and things that are happening around us. And this is why it's important for us to really pay attention and to see and not get sucked up in that energy, because it's really easy for that to happen. But the more that we're mindful and paying attention, the more that we can work with what we're going through. And I have to give you credit, Allie, because you are going through some things right now. And the first thing you said was like, I'm just going to give this to spirit. You're aware of all these elements that are happening around you, but you know that it's out of your hands. and the only thing you can control is how you're going to react to it. So yes, and I mean, there's a lot more to it, but I'll leave that for that one.
Yeah. No, it took me a long time to get to that point. I think that the calmness that came over me, considering what was going on, finally sort of made me realize that I was being mindful at the time. And you know, your mind, there's a difference between being mindful and having a full mind. You know, even though the two words are hooked together, it is being aware, it is being present, and it is knowing that there are things you cannot control and to turn it over. So yeah, absolutely. I love the word. I think it's a wonderful word.
I'm going to keep it very simple, and I purposely kept my mouth shut until the end. I'm actually going to dumb that down even more and just say mindfulness equals presence.
Yep, there you go.
That is it. I am a trained counselor. And the first thing I tell every client, every person I've worked with, and even myself still going through, I think therapy is perfectly healthy for every adult to go through. So even in my own therapy work, I'm like, I just need you to be present right now. Stop everything else. Just be
There's
present.
only this moment. That's it.
That's it.
We don't have any. Yeah, we don't have
This
past.
moment is all we have.
That's all.
When people say mindfulness is being present and this and that, it's like you're now compacting and trying to do too much.
Right.
Just take a moment to go, oh, I'm here.
Yep. I hear
That's
you.
really the start, the crux, the alpha, the omega, the end, beginning, and the alpha Z of just mindfulness, at least in my opinion. In my opinion, we're 2 dead flies smashed in a bucket of vinegar. So take it with a grain of salt.
I love it. That's great. Thank you.
That's funny. Thank you, Adrian. I love your humor, by the way. I've told you that before. Allie, do you want to show that starred comment?
Oh, I can do that, or we could do it later. But maybe it's important because she's just thinking about it.
Yeah,
Ellen. Yeah.
So Ellen's written the other day. I heard a reader use the term quickening. It sounded so ominous. How would others interpret this phrase in relationship with our times?
When you are pregnant, before you have the baby, you have the quickening. So that's my best example of a quickening. It's like it's the time before giving birth to something new.
Interesting.
I've never heard of that word. So I was like, I would have to see the context.
Yeah.
It was
I was going to say the only time I've heard quickening was with werewolves.
I heard it with baking. So I was like, are we baking a pie? Because there's some folding method you can use with flour with quickening. But I don't think that's correct in a spiritual sense.
No, it's the time before we give birth to something new. In a pregnancy, it would be a child. But that's what we're in right now in this time period. We are giving birth to something new. Remember, we're sort of in the tower moment, you know, and eventually that will give over birth to something new. So we just have, we have to be patient and stay mindful.
Right.
There you go.
I just quickly looked it up, the dictionary, and it said to stimulate or stimulating. So yes, in these times, there's a lot that's on the cooker right now. And
there is. Yeah.
I can see it in that sense.
Interesting.
And Jane the Seeker says it's the Empress. It's the Empress card. That's a quickening card. Yeah. Good.
There you go.
Interesting. Right? We did learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Today. The next word we have up is grounding. And I personally, I have a really, really cute, funny, real short story about this. So, well, I don't know how funny it is really, but
we'll laugh anyway.
Allie, you're too kind to my friend. So, every time I was getting readings from all the different wonderful readers that I, go from room to room, they were all telling me, Kelly, you need to ground yourself. You need to ground yourself. You need to ground yourself. And I'm like, great. I don't know what that means. And then one day, I went into, this was during the Christmas holidays, so it wasn't that long ago, friends. Scott Allen was in the afternoon, and Sheila was with him, as well as Kevin, as well as Mark the Spirit Whisperer. And I missed the title of the show, which was all about your pets. And I asked, how do I connect with my guides? Because I feel like I'm missing the messages, but I'm not really sure. Things are happening and I don't know what to do. And Scott spent like 10 minutes telling me, Kelly, you need to be more grounded. And again, I'm like, great.
Yeah.
And then I found out that my ex-husband passed away suddenly. And I jumped online to my wonderful community in my channel. And I happened to say that I had a vision, which I've only had two. So, at that point. And it was a square, looked like AstroTurf of grass with two shoes on it. And they all said, hello, that was the grounding. That was you. The shoes and the grass were grounding. And I'm like, oh, that's what he meant by being grounded. I literally had no idea what grounding meant until it was explained to me in my own chat, which is really, really bad. But that was why it was.
How you learn.
Put it on the list. Because that is a word we hear all the time. And I cannot be the only one that doesn't know that. Or at least I hope I'm not the only one that doesn't know.
No, I don't think you are. Yeah, I don't think you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to go first.
Okay.
I'll go first. And I was like, no, never mind.
Sonia?
So grounding to me is, it's that connection, the connection to yourself, the connection to Mother Earth, and having yourself aligned with that, working with the lower chakras and having yourself connected. So like one of the things I do to ground myself is I don't get outside enough. Yeah, I know. I live in California, right? Sun shining all the time, you would think, but I've gotten so used to being a hermit in my home. But when I do, like, I will take off my shoes and I will purposefully walk down to the mailbox to get my mail barefoot. So I'm making that connection. There's also crystals, a lot of grounding crystals. So people will hear crystals and grounding with crystals. And those are those crystals that, again, that will just help you to feel centered and connected and just kind of weighing that energy down so you have that connection. I'm an air sign. So, a lot of times I feel like I'm all up here.
Always up here.
So it's really important. Okay, yeah. So it's really important to get that grounding in and feel that connection. And the other thing I like to tell people is imagine roots coming out of your feet, going down into the ground and planting into the ground so you can just feel that connectedness.
Yep. Jane the Seeker actually just said that in the chat.
There you go. Yes.
There you go. Yes.
I was going to say grounding is literally anchoring. It is literally coming from up here. And it's just it's reminding yourself you have a body. I have a body and I'm going to be in my body. That is why every grounding technique has some form of physical element to it. That is why they say walk barefoot. It is physical. The 4 elements exercise or 4 senses exercise, that is physical. It is about even breathing exercises for grounding is breathing. It is all about the physicality. It is about getting from up here and getting into your body, which is, I'm going to take it a step further. Being in your body then means then you're connected to Mama Earth. It's going to bring some shamanism into it. And so then that's when you go back to source. You go back to Mama. You can commune with Mama Earth. You've gone from the ethers into spirit to God, whatever you want to call it. You come back down and grandfather, son, and you come back down to Mama and you talk to Mama. You get with Mama Earth and commune with her and her sentient beings. That includes not just humans, but every element.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I can be very airy fairy. I'm way up here and I'm not grounded at all. And I always told somebody I fear if I ground myself too much, I'm not going to have connection to the divine. But now I realize that I need to be connected here because this is where I live and only come from here when I'm working on my spiritual time. But I got to live here on the earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really interesting. Ali, can you pin Purple Elephant's comment?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. But again, it's almost like what Sonja says. You've got to get out with, if you can't get out, you need to do the grounding down of thinking that your feet are down into the roots of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you can, it's so much nicer to be able to go out in the grass, go out in the grass and walk around and connect with the mother.
It's not necessarily having to be closer to the earth. I mean, you could be up in the plane and be able to ground yourself while you're flying in the plane.
Getting back into that body, focusing on this whole thing, which I like to call the center of our chakras, just being in your body.
Yep.
That's why people with anxiety have a very difficult time grounding.
Hug a tree and you can be in nature. There you go.
Well, you know what is really interesting about the, planting your feet on the ground and touching the ground with your feet is I don't like feet. And like all joking aside, I really don't. And my feet are always covered up.
Okay.
Like my husband, it took him 4 years before he even see my feet. So like they're always covered up. I don't know where that comes from. So I'm going to really have to work on taking my socks off is what they're all telling me to do.
Well, just start with your socks first. Start where you are. You can walk outside with your socks.
Not necessarily, though. That's one of hundreds of techniques to ground yourself. There's breathing exercises. There's, whatever it is that you can get into your body. And then that body you can release and surrender, which is mindfulness. Because it's not a one size fits all.
Okay.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yep. Because some people can't get out of the house, or they're disabled, or maybe they can't even stand up. Maybe they have, paralyzed or something.
And there's so many breathing techniques that are incredible out there, and finding the right one that feels good for you. I know the breath of fire is one of the ones that I really enjoy using. But there's a lot of different techniques where you just like take, so many breaths in, hold it for a certain amount of time and bring it back out, whatever numbers or, work with you for you. And there's all types of techniques that you can do. Yeah. So I like that Adrian pointed that out. There's, your feet aren't the only ways to ground. That's just one of the techniques I use, but that's not like the technique that people should use.
That's what I love so much about spirituality. There is no one way.
Right.
I live in DC. I'm not walking outside barefoot. No, ma'am. This suspect out in these streets.
I was going to say, if anyone wants to walk out in my backyard right now,
the snow.
It is just like all white. You can't even see like trees. You can't see anything. Yeah. We've got like 3.5 feet of snow out there still. So.
Yeah. Awesome. I
guess.
Well, you got to live with it, I guess.
Yes, right? I do, unfortunately. The next word we have is, it's actually 2 words. And we have a kitty cat tail.
Oh, yes, we do.
You walk back.
We have being balanced.
Being balanced.
Ooh, the Libra is going to go first on this.
I know. Well, see, Adrian and I are both Libras. We're both Libras.
I'm a Gemini, so I have a little balancing.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, because there's 2 of you.
Yes.
Yeah. My dad taught me this philosophy when I was very, very young. And I think there's some truth to it. Or maybe I have just made myself believe there's truth to it. But my dad says, he who has mastered life, the man, the person, the woman, the thing that has mastered the key to life is the person who has mastered balance. And
beautiful.
Yeah, so not there. I'm a Libra. I'm sorry. We're either one side or the other. Unfortunate, but he's right there. That's what they call it. We have these buzzwords like work-life balance. It's right. Balance is important. It's not having it's not having eggs in multiple crates and multiple things. We can sometimes divest ourselves a little too much, spread ourselves a little too thin. Balance does not look the same for everyone. What's balanced for Ali is not balanced for Adrian, which is not balanced for Sonja, which is not balanced for anybody else in this chat. It's just not. Right. And you got to understand too that balance is going to be Some days balance is going to look like one thing, where maybe you're working 8 hours and then you or bunk off for 2, and the very next day you work for 82 hours but bunk off for 3. But there's in that day, in that time, in that space, there's that balance. So I think we get a little too rigid about what does balance look like. What does it mean? It means I've got to have this tightrope worked out perfectly. No, when you see somebody walking with a tightrope, they're still doing this. Every second of every step that they take, they're just working on, how do I carry the weight with both sides?
There you go.
Don't step and fall over.
Excellent. That's an excellent example. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And balance shows up in our life, right? I mean, we have there's night, there's day, there is the divine feminine, the divine masculine.
All of this,
You know, all like even my little necklace that I'm wearing right here. It's I can't get it up too close, but this is the Unapku, and it reflects the polar opposites. And so, and if you look, it's like night is not always the same as day. The divine masculine and divine feminine look completely different. So like what Adrian was saying, that it's just not always going to look the same or feel the same to everyone. But it's something that we want to recognize and take a look at it. Like I said, I'm a Gemini. I like to say that I'm a little bit more of an evolved Gemini. we have our moments, right? You know?
My husband's a Gemini, and I don't like his
my
twin.
Gemini.
I don't think y'all have your moments. I just think it's just whatever personality shows up.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's my husband.
Hard for a Libra, because we're like, I'm not balanced, but all of you people out there, you need to be perfectly the same all the time. Like, oh God, which one of you? But
If you were able to see the avatar that I put up for this chat, then you saw balance, because you saw yin and yang.
Yeah.
That's perfect balance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's in each of us, we have that balance as well of our male and female energies, and relationships, of course, have to have that balance. So yeah, I love your ideas and what you think about it. I think that's spot on. So, and what is it? Andrea said, sometimes you have to get off that balance, that tightrope, because you need a break. So there's your balance as well.
I was just going to ask, if you don't mind me doing a follow-up question to this, which is, when are the times it's okay to completely not be balanced? And are there situations or times where it is okay, where you're like, I'm not going to be balanced. I need to go fully in this and whatever that is.
This mode.
Yeah. What do you ladies think?
Okay. So for me, I'm unbalanced if I'm dealing with, usually, I'm not this time with my house and everything, but usually if there's an emergency, everything I have to do, I just have to do it. I have to do it. And then I fall apart because I've been so unbalanced that I've worn myself to a frazzle. That, maybe that's definitely not a good idea. But at the same time, you just put on that hat that says, I'm going to do this. I got to do this. I got to take care of all this right now. And I don't have any choice in the matter, so to speak. If this was somebody fell or there was an accident or something like that.
And I think for me, when I see myself in that state of being unbalanced, I think I like to try to prefer to be in my own space. So I'm not bringing other people into that, because it can be chaotic sometimes. So, but I give myself a lot of love during that time, because we're not perfect beings, and, it'd be beautiful if we could all be in this space of balance. But
we would have the keys to the mastery of life, right? We'd all
there
be
you go. Conversation done. We're good.
And everybody's got a different definition, Andrea says, and that's true.
Yes,
if you're working on someone else's definition of it, you may not be in balance either.
Yeah.
That's what I say. What is for you? Are there times in your life?
Sure.
Or do you think if anybody, is it okay for them to have? Because I think I'm going through this now, where there's something that I will not compromise on as far as where I need to be balanced, and I'm looking at the situation. I'm like, I can't. Right. Because I need to have a sense of detachment, so I can be whatever. So on the outside, it's going to look like it's this, but really, for me to actually get to that equilibrium stage, I'm going to have to put a little bit more here. So
Mhm.
eventually I got to pull these, because if I don't, it's just going to be like all the
Yeah.
time.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
interesting.
The point of, we tell people to be balanced, but we know we're not. Does that mean we're being hypocrites?
Well,
And I think the answer is no.
No. No.
That's really interesting, Adrian, because with my anxiety, when double touch wood, hasn't happened in a really long time. Thank you to this awesome community and a whole lot of work by yours truly.
that's right.
When it would go haywire and I'd be, having 6 or 8 panic attacks a day, if someone had told me that I had to work on my balance, I'm not really sure what I might have said to them.
Sure.
It would not be PG. Let's just say that.
Mhm.
When I was in those moments, it was doing 19 things at once, sort of like what Ali said, just to distract myself to stop feeling the fear, right? Or that impending sense of doom. And in that moment, that was okay for me because it felt like a survival kind of instinct. But it's interesting what you just said also, because it made me think of if you've ever had a situation where, you were involved in some kind of like drama or gossip or whatever, and you had to, or maybe even, like a bully sort of situation, or, the political situation that we all find ourselves with the Great Divide, where you've had to sort of take a step back and put a little bit of a boundary up, would throw you off balance, but actually be creating the balance sort of in the background, if that makes sense. Right. So that's really interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Andrea's got a halt, stop what you're doing. When you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, or you're tired. And, we get out of balance with that. If we are any of those things, we can be hard to live with. So,
I have a meme that says 80% of arguments start out of because one or the other person was hungry. And I'm like, yeah. I would say in my life, 90%, 99.99% of my arguments start because I was hungry.
I used to have a friend that I know she loved to eat. I mean, I do too. A lot of us do. But particularly, I could always see when she was getting edgy, and I'm like, let's go get you something to eat. Kind of like that Snickers bar commercial.
Yeah. Yep. And I agree, Deb, that we can recognize it was for a moment, or we can recognize that we're human. And I think that when somebody else is judging us that we're unbalanced, it makes it harder. Like you said, Kelly, if someone told you weren't balanced, then that would kind of upset you. But it all has to do with judgment of what people's judgment is of you. And we are not perfect people because we're only human beings. And so there are things that we don't do all the time in balance. And that's just who we are. It's everybody. I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, that was wonderful. I love that. So the next one we have is centering yourself. Kind of like what we all just did.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do believe that.
You don't have to go any further. You just saw a real life scenario.
That's a
centering, looking at everything, putting
your fingers together, relaxing, bringing back the body's balance, not the balance of something else.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
I agree. I love that. That was really well done, ladies.
That was unintentional. I love that.
I know.
That was not.
It's like, how are we going to explain this? Yeah.
That wasn't planned for sure. Okay, so the next thing on the list is being in alignment.
Okay.
I mean, other than tires being in alignment, I don't know.
Well, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I was about to say we're talking about mixing in balancing and centering and grounding, right? It's coming back to the body again, coming back to self and allowing yourself to.
Maybe your chakras are balanced.
The chakras all feeling balanced.
Yeah.
Can I add another one, ladies, if you don't mind?
No.
Why I because I knew I was going to add it anyway. No, because if you had said no, I would have respected it, not added it. So that's not fair.
Oh, okay.
I also think I want to take it I want to add, I'm going to say yes and there's another alignment, which is that alignment with our soul contract. And are we doing the work, doing the things that are aligned with the contract we signed to come down to be the human that we are at this time, this place, this space? Believe it or not, Jeffrey Dahmer had an alignment. He had a contract he served. As gruesome and horrific as that sounds, he did. Or maybe he didn't. Maybe he went off the path of that.
Went off his alignment, yeah.
We don't know. But to me, when I think of alignment, I think of not just are my chakras. I think I'm at that stage in my life where it's not just are my chakras aligned. No, they're never going to always be perfectly aligned. That's just not there. But am I on the path of doing the work of the contract that I signed to be here in this place?
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you aligned with your soul's purpose?
Your soul's purpose. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we might be one day and not the next, and then we can go back. So it isn't like it might be static. It might be static.
I think of an accordion. When you just said that, I saw an accordion. Did we pull out? What is this? Because it's accordion music, right? So did we push a little bit too much air? Did we not? Are we making that harmony and that music of life to go down that path? So if it's tomorrow or 100 years from now when I go to source, I hope I can go, yep, you just did. I understood the assignment,
Right. I have a Capricorn rising sign, so I understand, Deb. We aren't the be all end all, but we think we are, that everything will fall apart if we leave the workforce. But yeah, I'm glad that don't you think the pandemic was in perfect alignment with what we all needed as far as being at home, figuring everything out, working in a different way? I'm not saying it was a wonderful thing to have to go through.
Right.
I just think it offered us an opportunity for something different.
I think
it slowed a lot of people down where they were able to have their awakenings.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think it was. It was perfect, like you just said, Sonja. If people allowed it to do that for them, right? That if they didn't get angry at it.
Exactly. You are nailing that one.
Accepted it, right?
So many people fought it. They're still fighting it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because you can't fight change. It's going to happen. You're either going to get on the bus or get run over.
Yeah. Right. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of loss, right? And we are deeply saddened by that. But for so many that allowed and just to be present during that time, I call it the time of quiet, the time of peace. I was really, I became an empty nester during that time. So I didn't have a choice. I was just me and my group and I was like, okay.
Right.
We're doing this.
Yeah, we're doing this. We're doing this for sure.
Yeah, understood. That's wonderful. I love that Diana Oil Painter says the grand cross of cardinal points is alignment. If you think about a cross, I mean the way it's I love that.
Beautiful.
Everybody's got some great thoughts and sharing, and thank you so much.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Yep.
Arrows pointing in the direction of your highest good. I love that. That's beautiful.
Very nice, everybody. Thank you. We love to have your feedback. Absolutely. We aren't the ones that know it. We are not know-it-alls here.
No. The chat and participation is what's
absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody in the chat, for doing that, because you make me feel like I wasn't the only one that thought that maybe these words needed to be explained to us. So I appreciate the participation. So next up on the list is being connected. And I have to say, in full disclosure, when I thought about the being connected, it's like being connected, obviously not to each other, but being connected to spirit. And when I say that, what I mean is not the emotional connection to spirit, but when people are like, getting a download, hearing things, the ringing in the ear, like that's what I meant by being connected, if that makes sense.
This is another one where, to me, I don't want to put just a singular definition on it, because I look at, am I connected to Mama Earth? Am I connected to the actual orb, that big glowing orb that light reflects off, that we live on, right? That's the shaman Adrian. The Reiki Adrian is, are we connected to ourselves and our body and our space and our matter? Then there's the healer Adrian, that's like, are we connected to each other? Because to me, being connected to other human beings, then we can have a deeper spiritual connection, because that means we take ourselves out of the picture. We're not so egocentric. So there's a lot. I just hate to be simple again, but then I realize my entire business model is making complex things incredibly basic, like dumbing it down.
Oh, it's helpful. It's helpful.
It is helpful.
It really is.
Connection has multiple things connected. It's like okay, I have nothing to visually show you. We've got a couple different devices. Do I plug this one in? This one's now connected to something. So maybe that's connected to spirit. Then I've got another little dongle. This is now connected to humans. I've got something else. So there's multiple ports, multiple plugs of multiple things that we need to be connected to at any given time. So, and I think what's important, and I'm going to wrap this up in a pretty bow. If one of these things is not connected at any given time, then that ultimate connection, that connection to spirit, so we can get the downloads, as you were saying, it's not going to be as effective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I think you just summed that up for everybody.
Yeah, I do too. I remembered when I was trying to think about my connection with other people. We are connected to everybody with invisible strings, especially those people that we're close to. And we're connected to the collective consciousness. We have the ability to tap in, and we also are connected to. I walk around and I say, I am a Ukrainian. I don't live in the Ukraine. I'm not Ukrainian by birth or by ancestry, but I am that. I am that because they are me. And when one is harmed, all are harmed. So there's the other connection you can bring in.
Yeah. And you just said a very powerful statement of I am. When we allow ourselves to be aligned with I am, and that opens you up to be connected to just about anything and everything. So when you really take the time to do the work on yourself, and really, I mean, I'm talking about really going in, like imagine an onion and pulling back those layers and you get to that core. That's where all the messy, right? You really start tearing up and all this stuff.
Yeah, I
but
know.
when you do that work and you really do that, that's what's going to give you the ability to connect to things, not necessarily easily, but you're going to start seeing things a lot more clearer. You're going to start feeling things a lot more. That connection with spirit, connection with the elements, Mother Earth, like everything starts to come together. But you really got to go in there and do the work for yourself.
Yeah. When those I'm sort of going off of what you just said, Sonja. And I'm like feeling so emotional right at this moment. I don't even know where that just came from, but it makes me think about my reading that I had done with Jean. And I literally felt a piece of like that heavy weight just go and fall off. And it was instant. Totally unexpected that it happened that way, but it was instant release.
It was your awakening, honey.
An instant and an instant relief at the same time. And I literally felt like I could breathe easier, but I also felt my heart open wider.
Oh, right? Beautiful, Kelly.
How beautiful.
Like I had more room to invite peace into my heart. And it had been, I mean, in a couple of weeks, it'll be 10 years since my mom passed, and I haven't had that kind of peace in my heart in 10 years because of the anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not, I'm not trying to make this about me, but I'm just saying in terms of the being connected, that moment in that reading, I felt more connected to my own heart and my own sense of peace than I ever have in the last 10 years. And that's kind of where I was going with that.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm so happy for you.
Mhm.
But the idea that I am, whatever word you use after I am, has got to be a good word. You don't want to say I am sick or I am this or I'm lonely or I'm.
Yes.
Don't ever say those words. Say I am that. I am wonderful. I am appreciative. Whatever it is you want to say, it's fine.
I sort of feel like I am whole again.
Oh, nice.
That's beautiful.
Instead of, HOLE, I'm WHLE.
Right. You got the W in there now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's great.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take us off track there.
No, not at all. That was a great example, actually.
It was. Yeah.
Mhm.
Going within.
Going within.
Oh,
Well, I just kind of talked about that with the onion. That was my example of
That's
going
a
within.
good one. Yeah.
going
Standing
with
on the diving board at the Olympic swimming pool, going within. No, that's not what we mean. No.
going within, think of it as surgery. I love what Sonja was saying with the onion. You have to repair something. Sometimes you have to go into it and explore and pull some things out.
Right.
And good surgeons do this objectively. They're supposed to do no harm. I'm supposed to go in and look at everything. Is this a tumor? Is this a cyst? What am I? And then remove it or operate on it, work on it, right? That is literally how you have to approach whatever you do to go within. Because I see a lot of people saying they're go within, but they're going very superficially.
Right.
It is a little too much to go deep, but it's like you've got to be objective because that's going within to me equals accountability.
Okay.
I sort
The
of
other
feel
thing
like
is
going within.
we do like to look outward for answers, and all the answers are actually within us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had my first dream class last night, and we talked all about the subconscious and how dreams can help us interpret different things. And that's one way you can go in. The other way might be just to meditate or other things. But we need to know that everything is inside of us that we need.
Yeah.
And we just have to let that be true for us. Yeah.
Would you say that going within can be achieved? I mean, because for me, going within, I feel like that's what I do when I do my mirror work.
Yes.
I sort because I feel like I'm reaching my insides, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So to me, that's what going within means, but I don't know if that's what it actually.
That's beautiful.
That's actually
There's so many different ways you can go within. Again, it's one of those things. It's not just one way to do it.
Correct.
There's so many different methods, and it depends on the individual what feels right for them. For me, a lot of my work and stuff that I did, first started out in therapy years ago, and then ended up with basically like a spiritual mentor that opened me up to a lot of different things, and then from there I started working with plant medicines. So that is something that can really blow you wide open. That's where I do a lot of my work and stuff for going within to do the work. So it all depends on what you've done. And I've done shaman work. I mean, not shaman, worked with a shaman to do the work of doing like shadow work. So that's another method. So it's what you are comfortable with, what feels right for you. And there's so many different ways.
As long as
I like that, Melinda.
Oh, that's good, Melinda. Yeah.
Yep. As long as you do the work and you do it objectively, that's it.
Right.
The methodology, all of that is inconsequential. It's the outcome and how the humility, I think is the word I may want to use behind
There you go.
of doing it.
Yes.
Yep.
I love this. I am so honestly, I could cry. I am so thankful for you, Ali, for doing this for me and Adrian and Sonja. I mean, not that Ali, not to take away from the fact that you are participating as well, but thank you. I mean, honestly, you guys are awesome. This is helping me.
We're glad
You're
that
awesome
you
too, Kelly.
Yeah, you're the one who was smart.
Yes.
You've always got great ideas.
Yep.
Well, I am nothing if I am not a light bulb when it comes to my ideas, friends.
There you go. There you go.
Now, funny enough, the next word up is enlightenment.
Okay.
Whew.
I think it's a process. I know I talked to Ganga the other day because she's an enlightened person. She went through the Kundalini that came up through her chakras, and she had awareness. But I think my favorite thing is Jack Kornfield is a writer, and he says, before enlightenment, the laundry. After enlightenment, the laundry.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't a place that you ascend to and you're not, and you're done.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's one of those words that's tossed around a lot as well. Yes. Got to be very careful about, and as well as people not allowing ego to get into that whole enlightened aspect of things, because that can get really messy. So, yeah, I think it's just, people that are able or have worked, again, done the work, still continuing to do the work, like you just shared with that quote, because it never stops. It's something that you're consistently doing. So it's going to take you through different stages of where you're learning more and kind of ascending, and just it just keeps going. So like you said, it's not a place that you're like hanging out and hanging out in the lounge, like I'm in the Enlightenment lounge.
I used all my points on my credit card to boost myself up to the Enlightenment lounge.
Right.
Not quite how that works, but okay.
Yeah.
Hey, retail therapy is real, folks. It is a real thing.
Really real, very real. Yeah.
So Wayne says to be enlightened is to grok, and I believe grokking is being aware. Am I right, Wayne? I'm not sure. I've heard that so many times.
I have not heard that before.
You've not heard grok?
No.
No. Wayne, if you write it, I'll look it up to explain it better. I've heard
it on understanding something intuitively or by empathy.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for bringing another word in, Wayne.
Yes.
Now when you hear it, you'll know. Yeah. That's awesome.
If all the readers on all the channels start saying that we need to grok. We don't know what they're talking about.
I think I'm taking his definition a little too literally then, because I think through knowing through empathy or through some type of intuition, then a lot of us are born with that. How do you explain an empath? How do you explain that? Doesn't necessarily mean they're enlightened. It just means they were given a whole bunch of extra gifts that they may or may not. They don't think they didn't ask for it, but they signed a contract that said they didn't do it. So that's beside the point. But a whole bunch of things that they may not want. So I think I need to stop thinking of it so literally, because I'm like, that could also kind of get us down to a little slippery road. Because I know a lot of empaths who are not awakened.
Yeah,
I would say that there are, if you were looking at somebody like the Ascended Masters, which I'm going to actually be doing a whole series on, then you might find enlightened beings. Like the Buddha was eventually enlightened, but the Buddha also gave everything away. He just, he went into become an ascetic, and so there's a lot of, and when Sonja said about the ego, it's so hard. You have to tamper that sucker down. You can't, and a lot of people say, well, why do you have to do that? We are our egos. No, we're not our egos. We're balancing between that and our spiritual selves. So, yeah.
This is awesome. Just awesome.
Hi, everybody.
We have one more thing to discuss.
Okay.
And it probably is the thing that is going to take us. It's a good thing we didn't start with it. Let's put it that way. Releasing / letting go.
Well, what I always love to say is
that for part 2.
No, I mean, I'll make mine short. I like to say, let it go and let it flow.
Yes.
And there's a Abraham Hicks analogy, which is known as going upstream. So, you're going upstream, you're creating all this resistance, and it's like you're in that boat and you're just going like this, trying to go reach your goals and your desires, and you're making it so difficult. Whereas if you just let go of the oars, the boat will turn around and go downstream.
It's that card in the tarot deck where the guy is tipped over with wands. I don't know what
10 of
number that one is.
10 of
Okay.
Wands.
Yes.
All he's going to do is go like this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just let go, and the stream will carry you down to your desires and goals. So a form of just releasing and trusting that everything will fall into place. It may not look, or
Right.
we might not like the way it feels or the way it looks, but eventually it's going to get to where it is we want to go. If you're trusting and believing in that process, aligning, I'm throwing aligning back out there, aligning with that, it'll make things a little easier. So like I said, again, it may not look the way that we want it to look and play out the way that we want it to play out. But it's just trusting in that process.
It is. It's letting go and letting God. Yeah.
Surrender, let go, let God. Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm gonna tell you what it feels like, and maybe I'm just in my sage now. A rock can hit me in the face in 10 minutes, and I will change my tune. But I don't know. I am just, the older I'm getting, the more I surrender and release and let go, because and maybe I'm addicted to the feeling of what it feels like after I have let go of that control. Anybody who's been on TikTok lately, I'm gonna use a really horrible joke. I feel it deep in my womb lands. Like, it is just this coming out of like, and it truly shows you what you really do.
Yeah.
And it's that, to me, that keeping that humility and that graciousness and gratitude to spirit, to say, no, I do trust you. I promise I do, because I'm letting this go. Because if I didn't trust you, I would still try to be in control, and I can't be in control of that.
And that's what I had to do with my house. I had to let it go. I can't. I have no control. But many times I've had dreams, because I'm doing the dream class, so I'm thinking in terms of that as well. Whenever you have a dream about being in a bathroom, that's the ultimate letting go, really, when you think about it.
And control at the same time, because I'm like, oh God, I hope I'm not actually peeing in the bed.
All right. I've had those moments, yes.
Yes, but when you're dreaming about bathrooms, you got something you need to let go. You definitely do.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what, ladies? I don't know that I would have known how to do it without that exercise that Jean had given me in the reading. But I certainly know what it feels like. And now that I know what it feels like, I don't
want to go back. Yeah.
Well, don't fight it. And yes, most definitely, Allie, I don't want to ever go back to that place again. So I will continue to do the work. It was like a huge exclamation point, as well as a push in the derriere section, to make me, continue to move forward, because I don't want to ever not, like Adrian said, that feeling is so, I don't ever remember feeling anything that intense or beautiful before, and that feeling is so awesome. I don't really want it to ever go away.
I understand.
So I just, like Adrian, I'm a bit addicted to that feeling now that I felt it. It's amazing.
It's a nice feeling. And for me, it was this calm just came over me. And I've always been a person who wants to try to control something, and I can't control it anyway. And I always tell people that you can't control it, but I wanted to control it anyway. And now I'm just like, oh, nothing I can do about it.
It'll work itself out some way, somehow.
We'll get
some way, somehow.
Or it won't.
Or it won't. You don't have to figure something else out. Right.
Yeah. But until then, nothing I can do.
Yeah.
So I like this meditation exercise of watching a stream and things float by, bringing you into that. Remember, you can't step into the same river twice, because it's you're different and the river's different. But if you're watching things slide by, and you're enjoying a leaf on the water or whatever it is, then you're really in the flow. So perfect. Wow. I would say that this was very successful. And I would also say that if anybody has anything else that they want to ask before we leave today, please do. But maybe we could follow up later not tomorrow or anything, but maybe we could follow up later with some other ideas. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And everybody's got different ideas. And so that's what makes it so beautiful. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anybody been told something that they were confused by? I don't know.
I think we may have made their minds blown.
Maybe. We're seeing a lot of appreciation from different folks in the chat.
Yeah.
And we appreciate.
Absolutely. I mean, I've learned some things today. A few words I didn't know.
Even if you already know what these terms mean, it is so fulfilling to go back and discuss it, because
that's right.
Sonja was saying you get to see it from a different perspective.
You bring the awareness to yourself, and
or just maybe go, oh yeah, okay, cool. I'm not crazy. I did know that. Okay, check off. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know? So
and now you can grok at the same time. So now we've all learned something today.
I'm thinking grok is like a drink from the Middle Ages. That's so
right.
Yeah. Oh, there was one called grog, actually.
Oh, grog. I was thinking
grog. Yes. Ooh, I have a not so pleasant story with that, my relationship with that, but that's a whole other live.
I think this is really interesting. And one of the reasons why I thought like we could get some answers to some people, some information could be shared that could be helpful. And if nothing else, draw your own conclusion, right? From the different takes that you get. Many, many, many years ago, I was in, my previous career, and I have like 15 years experience. So I thought that I knew what I was doing. And the company was bought by another company. And so now a whole bunch of people from different provinces across Canada are all working together. And this lady kept saying, well, you just have to wash it. And I'm like, I don't know what wash it means, for God's sake. Will you? And I'm saying it's offset, right? And she's like, well, yeah, just wash it. I'm like, okay, here's how this goes. Okay. I know this word. You keep using this word. I have no idea what you're talking about. If I just go with what you say, it's not going to be pretty. The auditors are going to come in. My boss is going to fire me. A whole bunch of people are going to get in trouble. We're going to have to pay a big fine. So can we just stick to the language that we're supposed to stick to? And I guess when I came into this community, I sort of took it like that literally, that these particular words that I keep hearing, they mean this, right? And so this is why I'm so grateful for this happening tonight, because I understand that it's not in a little box. Well, I'm in a box, but it's not in a box.
And we saw the people in the chat offering up their own examples and ideas, and all other readers and people who have channels have different ideas. But, a lot of it is the same as well. We have some similarities and a lot of differences, but that's okay. That's what brings us together into this beautiful community. I love my sisters. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody, have a wonderful evening. We're glad you spent some time with us. Make sure you go on. Sonja's going to have a show later tonight. And go watch your show. Are you as well, Adrian?
No, I was saying the time for her.
Oh,
yes, at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I will have Debbie Freebird Spirit's going to be on with me tonight.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And Adrian over there, down there. The other way.
I can never get this thing right. There you go.
So here's the trick. The arm that's closest to the person is where you go.
Sure.
So if you're to my right, so I'm going to use my right hand. If you're
this is easier.
Yeah, it's easier. Yeah, right.
On the top, except for when Kelly had to do the diagonal, then that's when it gets screwed up. But yes,
I know Adrian down there. The lovely lady wearing the green shirt. How's that?
That's right.
Adrian downloaded an amazing video today, you guys, on a sound.
Oh, good.
I did that back
months
ago, and I have been like picky, like you need to like tweak this and edit this, and you need to bring up this sound because the bowl.
You're a film gal. We know.
And then I listened to it today. I was like, bump it, just upload it.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Oh, that's great.
That was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. And thank you, Kelly, for coming up with this idea. And
Yeah,
all of
Kelly,
us
great
for
idea.
coming here and putting everybody in. Much love to all of you as well. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Blessings.